Picture this. It's 1944, and a young Japanese woman named Yuki Tanaka sits huddled in the back of a military transport truck, her wrists bound, her heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird desperate for escape. The dust of the Arizona desert chokes her throat as the vehicle bounces over unpaved roads, carrying her toward what she believes will be her death. Every propaganda poster she ever saw, every military briefing she ever attended, told her the same thing. Americans are barbarians. They will torture you. They will humiliate you. They will strip away your dignity before they strip away your life. But Yuki Tanaka is about to discover that everything she's been taught is a lie. And in the most unexpected twist of fate, she's about to fall in love with the very enemy she was trained to hate. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city and country in the comments below. And if stories of impossible love in the darkest chapters of human history move you, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about war, love, and the human capacity for connection across the deepest divides. This is a story that history tried to bury. A story of forbidden romance, impossible choices, and the kind of love that blooms in the ashes of hatred. This is the story of Yuki and Lieutenant Daniel Cooper. And I promise you, it will break your heart and put it back together again. Part 1. The World Before. Let's rewind to where it all began. Tokyo, 1938. Yuki Tanaka is 17 years old, living in a small apartment in the Shibuya district with her mother, father, and younger brother Kenji. Her father works at a textile factory, her mother takes in sewing, and Yuki herself has just completed her education at a prestigious girls' school. She's smart, curious, and gifted with languages. She speaks Japanese, of course, but also English and some French, skills that were considered valuable for a modern Japanese woman in the years before the war. The world Yuki knows is one of tradition colliding with modernity. Japan is expanding, asserting itself on the world stage, and there's a strange electricity in the air, a sense that something big is coming, though no one quite knows what. Her father reads the newspapers with a furrowed brow. Her mother worries quietly while mending clothes. And Yuki? She dreams of becoming a translator, of seeing the world beyond the narrow streets of her neighborhood. But then December 1941 arrives like a thunderclap. Pearl Harbor. War. Everything changes overnight. Within months, Yuki's world contracts. Her father is conscripted into a factory producing military supplies. Her brother, barely 16, is sent to a youth military training program. And Yuki herself is recruited into the Women's Volunteer Corps, assigned to work as a translator and nurse's aide in military hospitals. The government needs people who speak English, and Yuki's language skills make her valuable. She tells herself it's her duty. She tells herself she's serving her emperor, her country, her family. But deep down, beneath the layers of propaganda and patriotic fervor, a small part of her wonders, is this right? Is this what the world is supposed to be? The hospitals are brutal. Yuki sees young men, boys really, coming back from the front with missing limbs, with burns covering their bodies, with eyes that have seen things no one should ever see. She tends to them with gentle hands and kind words, but every day the weight grows heavier. Every day the question grows louder. What are we fighting for? By 1944, Japan is losing. Anyone paying attention can see it, though speaking such thoughts aloud is dangerous, possibly fatal. Food is scarce. Supplies are scarce. Hope is scarce. And when Yuki is no better, she dreams about him. In her dreams, they're not prisoner and guard. They're just two people meeting in a world without war. Sometimes they're walking on a beach. Sometimes they're sitting in a cafe. Sometimes they're just talking about nothing important, and that's enough. She knows it's impossible. Even if the war ended tomorrow, even if all barriers disappeared, they're from different worlds. His people killed her father. Her people killed his brother. There's too much blood between them, too much history, too much pain. But the heart doesn't understand impossibility. The breaking point comes in early January. Yuki is working late in the infirmary, reorganizing supplies, when Daniel appears in the doorway. His shift ended hours ago. He has no reason to be there. "I need to talk to you," he says, his voice strained. Yuki's heart hammers. The doctor is not here. I'm not here for the doctor. Daniel steps inside, closing the door behind him. I tried to stay away. I tried to convince myself this was nothing, but I can't do it anymore. Lieutenant Cooper. Daniel. My name is Daniel. Daniel, Yuki whispers, and even saying his name feels like crossing a line. This is dangerous. I know, believe me, I know. He runs a hand through his hair, frustrated. I could lose my commission. You could be transferred to another camp somewhere worse. I know all the reasons this is a terrible idea. Then why are you here? Daniel meets her eyes. Because pretending I don't have feelings for you is killing me. Because when I'm with you, I feel like myself again, like the man I was before the war. Because you're the only thing that makes sense in a world that's gone insane. Yuki feels tears burning her eyes. I am the enemy. You're not. You never were. The enemy is this war, this hatred, this idea that we're supposed to kill each other because we were born in different places. Daniel takes a step closer. You're just a woman who loves poetry and gardening, who grieves for her father, who smiles when she thinks no one is watching. You're just you, and I... He stops, swallows hard. I'm falling in love with you. The words hang in the air, enormous and terrifying. Yuki should tell him to leave. She should remind him of all the reasons this can never work. Instead, she hears herself say, I feel the same way. Daniel closes the distance between them in 2 strides. He stops just inches from her, close enough to touch, but not touching, waiting. Tell me to go. If you tell me to go, I will. I'll transfer to another camp. I'll make sure you never have to see me again. Yuki looks up at him, at this man who has shown her kindness when she expected cruelty, who has seen her as a person when the world sees only an enemy. I do not want you to go, she whispers. Daniel reaches out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she doesn't, his hand cups her cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear she didn't know had fallen. This is crazy, he murmurs. Yes, Yuki agrees. We could both be punished. Yes. It might not even survive past the war. I know. Daniel leans down, his forehead resting against hers. But I don't care. I don't care about any of it if it means I get to be near you. Yuki's hands come up, resting on his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing under her palms. What do we do? We're careful, we're smart, and we take whatever time we can get. Daniel pulls back just enough to look at her. Is that enough for you? It has to be, Yuki says. And then, rising on her toes, she closes the final distance between them. The kiss is gentle, tentative, like they're both afraid the other will disappear. But then Yuki's arms wrap around his neck, and Daniel pulls her closer, and the kiss deepens into something desperate and real. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rests his forehead against hers again. We have to be so careful. I know. If anyone finds out, I know. Yuki cups his face in her hands. But tonight, just for tonight, can we not think about the consequences? Daniel's answer is another kiss. Part 10. Secret Moments. The next few months are the most beautiful and most terrifying of Yuki's life. She and Daniel are together, but not in any way the world would recognize. They can't hold hands in public. They can't go on dates. They can't even be seen talking privately without arousing suspicion. Instead, they steal moments. 5 minutes alone in the infirmary. A conversation in the garden when other workers are too far away to hear. Notes passed discreetly, written in a combination of English and Japanese that only they understand. Daniel brings her books from the camp library, always with a slip of paper marking a particular page, a particular passage that says what he can't say aloud. Yuki leaves him flowers from the garden, each type with its own meaning in the Japanese language of flowers. Red camellias for I love you, white chrysanthemums for truth, forget-me-nots for obvious reasons. They learn each other in fragments. Daniel tells her about growing up in Oregon, about fishing with his brother in cold mountain streams, about his mother who reads poetry aloud while she cooks. Yuki tells him about Tokyo before the war, about her father teaching her to write calligraphy, about the cherry blossoms that would bloom every spring in Ueno Park. "I want to see them," Daniel says one evening as they stand in the garden, pretending to examine the tomato plants. "The cherry blossoms." "Maybe someday you will," Yuki says, though neither of them truly believes it. The danger of discovery is constant. Private Harris, a guard who's never liked Daniel, seems suspicious. He watches them, makes pointed comments about Daniel spending too much time in the infirmary, about certain prisoners getting special treatment. "Be careful of Harris," Daniel warns Yuki. "He's looking for any excuse to cause trouble." Yuki nods. They're already so careful. But how much more careful can they be? The other prisoners notice too. Tomoko, Yuki's roommate, confronts her one night after lights out. "You have feelings for the American guard," Tomoko hisses. "I've seen the way you look at him." Yuki's stomach drops. "You're mistaken." "Don't lie to me. I'm your friend, Yuki. I want to protect you." Tomoko's voice softens. "But this is dangerous. If the others find out, if the administration finds out—" "Nothing is happening," Yuki insists, the lie bitter on her tongue. "Then keep it that way. Please." Tomoko grabs her hand in the darkness. "I don't want to lose you." Yuki squeezes back. "You won't. I promise." But promises are hard to keep when your heart is pulling you in the opposite direction. In February, something happens that changes everything. News reaches the camp that American forces have landed on Iwo Jima. The battle is brutal, the casualties on both sides enormous. And among the Japanese defenders killed is someone Yuki knew, Lieutenant Takeshi Yamamoto, who trained with her brother before the war. The news hits Yuki hard. Yamamoto was kind, idealistic, someone who believed in honor and duty. And now he's dead, killed on a tiny island most people have never heard of, in a war that never should have happened. She's in the infirmary when she receives the news and she breaks down completely. Dr. Hendricks, understanding, tells her to take the rest of the day off. But where can she go? Her barracks will be full of women, and she can't let them see her like this. She ends up in the garden, behind the tool shed where no one can see her, sobbing into her hands. Daniel finds her there. He's supposed to be on perimeter duty, but something pulled him to the garden. When he sees her, crumpled on the ground, crying, his heart breaks. He knows he shouldn't. Anyone could walk by. But he can't leave her like this. "Yuki," he says softly, kneeling beside her. She looks up, eyes red and swollen. "He was my brother's friend. He was 23 years old. And now he's dead, dying for an emperor who doesn't care about him, in a war that should have ended years ago." Daniel sits down beside her, and after a moment's hesitation, pulls her into his arms. Yuki buries her face in his shoulder and sobs. He holds her, one hand stroking her hair, whispering soothing words she probably doesn't even hear. "I'm so tired," Yuki whispers when the tears finally slow. "I'm so tired of death. I'm tired of war. I'm tired of being afraid." "I know. I am too." Yuki pulls back enough to look at him. "When will it end, Daniel? When will we be allowed to just live?" "Soon," Daniel says, though he has no way of knowing if it's true. "The war can't last forever, and when it ends, we'll find a way." A way to what? To be together, really together. Not like this, not hiding and stealing moments. He cups her face in his hands. "I don't know how yet, but I refuse to believe we're going through all this for nothing." Yuki wants to believe him. She wants to believe in a future where they can be together openly. But the realist in her knows better. "Your country will never accept me. I will always be the enemy. Then we'll go somewhere else. Somewhere neither of us is from." Daniel's voice is fierce now, determined. "I don't care where we end up as long as I'm with you." "You would leave America? Your family?" "If it meant being with you? Yes." He says it without hesitation. I love you, Yuki. Not despite who you are, but because of it. You're the strongest, bravest person I've ever met, and I'm not letting you go. Yuki kisses him then, tasting her own tears on her lips. I love you too, she whispers against his mouth. So much it scares me. Good scared or bad scared? Both. Daniel laughs, and the sound is so unexpected, so full of life, that Yuki laughs too. And for just a moment, sitting behind a tool shed in a POW camp in the middle of the Arizona desert, they're happy. But happiness in wartime is borrowed. It always has to be paid back. Part 11. Discovery. The blow falls in March. Private Harris, who's been watching and waiting, finally gets his evidence. He sees Daniel slip a note to Yuki in the infirmary. It's a brief touch, fingers brushing for just a second as the paper changes hands, but Harris sees it. He reports it immediately to the camp commander, Major William Harrison. Harrison is a by-the-book officer, a man who believes in regulations and military discipline above all else. A guard fraternizing with a prisoner is exactly the kind of scandal he won't tolerate. Daniel is called to Harrison's office the next morning. He knows immediately that something's wrong. Harris is there, standing at attention with a smug expression on his face. Lieutenant Cooper, Harrison says coldly. I've received a disturbing report about your conduct with one of the prisoners. Daniel's blood runs cold, but he keeps his face neutral. Sir? Private Harris alleges that you've been engaging in inappropriate behavior with prisoner Yuki Tanaka. He claims to have witnessed you passing her notes, spending excessive time in her company, and showing her preferential treatment. Harrison leans forward. Is this true? Daniel wants to lie. Every instinct screams at him to deny everything, to protect himself and Yuki. But he's never been a good liar. Sir, I need a yes or no answer, Lieutenant. And sir, Daniel thinks of Yuki. If he denies it, they might investigate her, question her, punish her. But if he admits it, takes full responsibility, maybe he can keep her out of it. Yes, sir, he says quietly. It's true. Harris's smile widens. Harrison's face hardens. Do you understand the gravity of what you've done? Harrison demands. Fraternizing with the enemy is a court-martial offense. You could be dishonorably discharged. You could face prison time. I understand, sir. Then why? Why would you throw away your career, your honor, for a Japanese prisoner? Daniel meets Harrison's eyes steadily. Because I'm in love with her, sir. The room goes silent. Harris's mouth falls open. Even Harrison looks shocked. You're in love with her, Harrison repeats slowly, like he's trying to make sense of the words. Yes, sir. And I know it's against regulations. I know it's inappropriate, but it's the truth. Daniel straightens his shoulders. I accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate, but I ask that Miss Tanaka not be held responsible. This was my doing, my choice. Harrison studies him for a long moment. You realize she'll have to be questioned anyway. Yes, sir. I just hope you'll remember that I'm the one with power in this situation. If anyone took advantage, it was me, not her. That's not how Private Harris tells it, Harrison says. He claims she's been encouraging you, using feminine wiles to get special treatment. Rage flares in Daniel's chest. That's a lie. She's done nothing wrong. She's been nothing but professional and... Enough. Harrison holds up a hand. I'll conduct my own investigation. Until then, you're confined to quarters. Dismissed. Daniel salutes and leaves, his mind racing. He has to warn Yuki. He has to let her know what's coming. But he's confined to quarters. There's no way to reach her. Yuki learns about the investigation an hour later when she's called to Harrison's office. Her heart hammers as she walks across the camp, escorted by 2 guards. This is it. This is what she's been dreading. Harrison's questions are direct and uncomfortable. Has Lieutenant Cooper shown her special attention? Has there been any physical contact between them? Has he given her gifts or favors? Yuki wants to lie, to protect Daniel the way he's probably trying to protect her. But she's never been a good liar either. And more than that, she's tired of hiding. Yes, she says quietly. Lieutenant Cooper has shown me kindness. And yes, I have feelings for him. But he has done nothing wrong. He has never used his position to take advantage. He has never been anything but respectful. Respectful? Harrison raises an eyebrow. Private Harris claims he saw you embracing. Yuki's face flushes, but she keeps her voice steady. I was grieving. I had received news that someone I knew had been killed. Lieutenant Cooper offered comfort. If that is a crime, then I am guilty. Harrison leans back in his chair. You understand that this puts me in a difficult position. Lieutenant Cooper is a decorated soldier. You're an enemy prisoner. The optics of this situation are terrible. I understand that you see me as the enemy, Yuki says. But I did not choose this war. I did not choose to be here. I am trying to survive, just like everyone else. And if finding a moment of human connection in all this darkness is wrong, then I do not want to be right. Harrison is silent for a long moment. You're dismissed, but you're being transferred to another barracks effective immediately. You're not to have any contact with Lieutenant Cooper. Is that clear? Yes, sir, Yuki whispers. As she's escorted out, she passes Private Harris in the hallway. He smirks at her, pleased with himself. Yuki holds her head high and doesn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Part 12. Separation. The next 2 weeks are agony. Daniel is confined to his quarters while the investigation continues. Yuki is moved to a barracks on the opposite side of the camp and assigned to work in the laundry instead of the infirmary. They can't see each other. They can't communicate. They don't even know if the other is okay. Daniel spends his days pacing his small room, driving himself crazy with worry. What are they doing to Yuki? Is she being mistreated? Is she frightened? He should be there, protecting her, but instead he's trapped, helpless. Yuki throws herself into work, scrubbing clothes until her hands are raw, trying not to think about Daniel. But at night, alone in her new barracks with women who don't know her, don't trust her, she cries into her pillow. The investigation drags on. Harrison interviews other guards, other prisoners. Dr. Hendricks is questioned and admits that he noticed a connection between Daniel and Yuki, but saw nothing inappropriate. Tomoko is questioned, and to Yuki's eternal gratitude, says she saw nothing out of the ordinary. Finally, after 2 weeks that feel like 2 years, Harrison makes his decision. He calls Daniel to his office. Lieutenant Cooper, I've completed my investigation, Harrison says, and I find that while you did violate regulations regarding fraternization with prisoners, there's no evidence of you abusing your position or taking advantage of Miss Tanaka. Daniel exhales slowly. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. You're being transferred to Camp Forest in Tennessee, effective immediately. You'll finish out your service there, away from the temptation that led to this situation. Daniel's heart sinks. Tennessee. Halfway across the country from Yuki. And Miss Tanaka? She'll remain here. She's done nothing wrong, aside from poor judgment. But to avoid any appearance of impropriety, you two will have no further contact. Am I clear? Sir, with respect, the war is almost over. When she's repatriated to Japan, when and if that happens, it will no longer be the Army's concern. But while she's under my command, this ends. Am I clear, Lieutenant? Daniel knows he has no choice. Yes, sir. Crystal clear. You leave tomorrow morning. Dismissed. Daniel salutes and leaves. Tomorrow morning. Less than 24 hours. How is he supposed to say goodbye in 24 hours? But as it turns out, he doesn't get to say goodbye at all. That evening, under cover of darkness, Daniel breaks his confinement. It's stupid, reckless, could get him court-martialed for real. But he doesn't care. He has to see Yuki one more time. He makes his way to her new barracks, staying in the shadows, avoiding the guards on patrol. He waits outside until he sees movement through the window, and then he risks a low whistle, a signal they used to use in the garden. Yuki hears it immediately. Her heart leaps. It can't be. But she moves to the window, and there he is, barely visible in the moonlight. She slips outside, ignoring the confused whispers of the other women. Daniel, she breathes. You should not be here. I'm leaving tomorrow, being transferred. I couldn't go without seeing you. He takes her hands, holds them tight. I love you. Whatever happens, wherever we end up, I love you. Tears stream down Yuki's face. I love you too. I will never forget you. Don't say it like that. Don't say it like it's over. Daniel pulls her close. The war is ending. Everyone knows it. Japan can't hold out much longer. And when it ends, you'll be sent home. And I'll come find you. How? How will you find me in all of Japan? I don't know. But I will. I promise you, Yuki, I will spend the rest of my life searching if I have to. I'm not giving up on us. Yuki wants to believe him. She wants to believe in miracles and happy endings. But she's seen too much of war to believe in fairy tales. If you cannot find me, promise me you will live a good life. Promise me you will be happy. I can't promise that. Not without you. Daniel. He kisses her, cutting off her protests. It's a desperate kiss, full of longing and grief and love. When they finally break apart, both are crying. I have to go, Daniel whispers, before someone sees. Wait. Yuki reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small object. It's the Red Cross photograph they took of all the prisoners when they first arrived at the camp. She's torn hers out of the group shot. Take this, so you will remember my face. Daniel takes the photograph with shaking hands. I could never forget your face, but I'll treasure this. He pulls off his dog tags and presses them into her hand. Keep these. They have my name, my hometown, my mother's address. If you need to find me, start there. Yuki closes her fist around the metal tags, still warm from his body. I will keep them safe. I have to go, Daniel says again, but neither of them moves. I know. I love you. I love you. One more kiss, brief and bittersweet. Then Daniel slips back into the shadows, and Yuki stands alone in the moonlight, holding dog tags in her hand and his memory in her heart. Part 13. War's End. Daniel leaves for Tennessee the next morning. Yuki watches from a distance as his transport truck drives through the camp gates. She doesn't wave. She doesn't cry. She just watches until the truck disappears into the desert horizon. The next few months pass in a blur. Spring turns to summer. The news from the Pacific gets worse and worse for Japan. In April, President Roosevelt dies. In May, Germany surrenders. And in August, something unthinkable happens. Atomic bombs are dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The news reaches the camp, and the reaction among the Japanese prisoners is complicated. Horror at the destruction. Relief that the war might finally end. Fear for families back home. Yuki doesn't know if her mother was near either city, doesn't know if she's alive or dead. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announces Japan's surrender. The war is over. The women in the camp react in different ways. Some weep for their defeated nation. Some weep with relief that it's finally done. Yuki feels numb, empty, like she's used up all her emotions and has nothing left. The repatriation process begins immediately, but moves slowly. There are thousands of Japanese prisoners across America, and getting them all home takes time, organization, paperwork. Yuki and the others wait, caught in limbo between their old lives and whatever comes next. In September, Yuki receives a letter. It's from her mother, written a week before the surrender. She's alive. She's working in a village north of Tokyo, living with distant relatives. The relief Yuki feels is overwhelming, but there's no letter from Daniel, no word at all. Of course there isn't. He's in Tennessee, she's in Arizona, and the military wouldn't forward personal correspondence between them anyway. Still, she hopes. Every day, she hopes. October arrives and finally, Yuki's group is scheduled for repatriation. They'll travel by train to San Francisco, then by ship to Japan. It's really happening. She's going home. The night before they leave, Yuki stands in the garden one last time. The vegetables are still growing, thriving despite the approaching winter. She planted some of these, she and Daniel together. Miss Tanaka? Yuki turns to find Dr. Hendricks standing behind her. He's older, grayer than when she first met him, worn down by years of tending to the wounded and broken. Dr. Hendricks, she greets him. I heard you're leaving tomorrow. Yes, going home. Home. He nods thoughtfully. That's good. Everyone should get to go home. He pauses. I want you to know something. Lieutenant Cooper came to see me before he left. He asked me to give you something if you were ever repatriated. Yuki's heart stutters. What? Dr. Hendricks hands her an envelope. He made me promise to keep it safe. I've carried it with me every day since, waiting. Yuki takes the envelope with trembling hands. Her name is written on the front in Daniel's careful handwriting. Thank you, she whispers. He's a good man, Dr. Hendricks says. What you two found here, in all this darkness, that's something special. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Yuki nods, too overwhelmed to speak. That night, alone in her barracks for the last time, Yuki opens the letter. My dearest Yuki, if you're reading this, it means you're going home. I'm so happy for you, even though it means we're further apart than ever. I don't know if we'll see each other again. I don't know if my promise to find you is a promise I can keep. But I need you to know that loving you changed me. You showed me that there's more to people than the uniforms they wear or the countries they're from. You showed me that hope can exist even in the darkest places. Whatever happens, wherever life takes you, please be happy. Please live fully. Please don't waste a single moment of the precious life you have. And if by some miracle we do meet again, I'll be waiting. I'll always be waiting. All my love, now and forever, Daniel. Yuki reads the letter 3 times, memorizing every word. Then she folds it carefully, tucks it into her bag alongside his dog tags, and lies down to dream of cherry blossoms and impossible reunions. Part 14. Return to Japan. The journey back to Japan is long and uncomfortable. The ship is crowded with repatriated prisoners, everyone exhausted, everyone displaced. Yuki stands on the deck as they approach Yokohama Harbor, seeing her homeland for the first time in over a year. Japan is devastated. That's the only word for it. Tokyo is a landscape of rubble and ash. The buildings are destroyed, the streets are empty, and the people who remain look hollow, defeated. This is not the Japan Yuki left. She makes her way north to the village where her mother is staying. It takes 3 days of walking and hitching rides on military trucks. Her feet are blistered, her body is exhausted, but she keeps moving. When she finally sees her mother standing in the doorway of a small farmhouse, they both collapse into tears. Her mother has aged 10 years in one. Her hair is white, her body is thin, but she's alive. She's alive. Yuki-chan, her mother sobs. My daughter, my precious daughter. They hold each other for a long time, crying for everything they've lost and everything they've survived. Life in post-war Japan is hard. Food is scarce. Work is scarce. Hope is scarce. Yuki finds a job as a translator for the American occupation forces, her English skills finally proving valuable. It's strange working for the Americans after being their prisoner, but the money helps support her mother. She doesn't tell her mother about Daniel. How can she? How can she explain that she fell in love with an American soldier while Japan and America were at war? Her mother would never understand. But at night, Yuki takes out Daniel's dog tags and his letter and reads them by candlelight. She wonders where he is, what he's doing, if he ever thinks about her. The months turn into years. 1946, 1947, 1948. Japan slowly rebuilds. The occupation ends. Life moves forward, as it always does. Yuki is offered a position with a trading company, using her language skills to facilitate business between Japan and America. It's good work, important work. She's successful, respected. But she's also lonely. She dates occasionally, men introduced by well-meaning friends or family. But none of them are Daniel. None of them understand the way he did. None of them see her the way he did. By 1952, Yuki has resigned herself to a life without love. She has her work, her mother, her small apartment in Tokyo. It's enough. It has to be enough. And then, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in April, everything changes. Part 15. The letter. Yuki is at work when it arrives. A letter addressed to her at the trading company with an American stamp. Her hands shake as she opens it. Dear Miss Tanaka, my name is Daniel Cooper. I don't know if you remember me. We met during the war when you were a prisoner at the camp in Arizona. Remember him? Yuki almost laughs at the understatement. I've been trying to find you for 7 years. I wrote to the Red Cross, to the State Department, to every organization I could think of. I hired a private investigator. I learned to read and write Japanese so I could communicate with people in Japan. I finally found someone who thought they might know where you were. It's a long shot, but I'm sending this letter and hoping it reaches you. If it does, I have only one question. Can I see you again? I'm living in San Francisco now. I work as a carpenter. I'm not rich, I'm not anyone special, but I kept my promise. I never stopped looking for you. And if you'll have me, I'll get on the next plane to Tokyo. All you have to do is say yes. Yours always, Daniel Cooper. There's an address in San Francisco, a telephone number. Yuki stares at the letter for a long time, tears streaming down her face. 7 years. He spent 7 years searching for her. She goes to the telegraph office immediately and sends a message. Yes. Come. Epilogue. Cherry blossoms. It's spring when Daniel arrives in Japan, the time of year when the cherry blossoms bloom. Yuki waits for him at Haneda Airport, her heart pounding so hard she thinks it might burst from her chest. She's 32 now, not the frightened 24-year-old he knew. She wonders if he'll be disappointed, if the woman he remembers is different from the woman she's become. But when she sees him coming through the gate, all her doubts disappear. He's older too, with lines around his eyes and more gray in his hair, but his eyes are the same, hazel with flecks of gold, looking at her the way they always did, like she's the only person in the world. They stop a few feet apart, suddenly shy. Hi, Daniel says. Hi, Yuki replies, and then they're in each other's arms, holding on like they'll never let go again. I can't believe you're really here, Yuki whispers. I told you I'd find you. I always keep my promises. They spend the next week together, talking, laughing, catching up on 7 years of life. Daniel tells her about his time in Tennessee, about how he left the military after his service ended and moved to California to be closer to the Pacific, closer to her. Yuki tells him about returning to Japan, about rebuilding her life, about the nights she held his dog tags and wondered if she'd ever see him again. On their last day together before he has to return to America, they go to Ueno Park to see the cherry blossoms. The trees are in full bloom, pink petals floating through the air like snow. It's beautiful, Daniel says. Yes, Yuki agrees. He takes her hand. Come back with me, to America. Marry me. Yuki's breath catches. Daniel, I know it's fast. I know there will be challenges, but I don't care. I've spent 7 years without you. I don't want to spend another 7. He pulls out a small box from his pocket and opens it, revealing a simple ring. I love you, Yuki Tanaka. I've loved you since 1944 and I'll love you until I die. Will you marry me? Yuki looks at the ring, at Daniel's hopeful face, at the cherry blossoms blooming all around them. Yes, she says. Yes, I'll marry you. When they kiss, pink petals fall like confetti, blessing this love that refused to die, this connection that survived war and separation and 7 years of longing. Closing. So what happened to Yuki and Daniel? They got married in San Francisco in 1953, in a small ceremony with Daniel's mother and a few close friends. Yuki's mother eventually came to visit and, against all expectations, adored her American son-in-law. The early years weren't easy. There was prejudice, discrimination, people who couldn't see past the war. But they faced it together, building a life that was theirs alone. They had 3 children. Daniel taught them carpentry and poetry. Yuki taught them Japanese and the language of flowers. And they told them the story of how 2 people from opposite sides of a war found each other and refused to let hate win. Daniel kept his promise. He spent the rest of his life making Yuki happy. And Yuki kept hers. She lived fully, completely, never wasting a moment. They grew old together, their love deepening with every passing year. And when Daniel died in 1998, at the age of 80, Yuki held his hand and thanked him for finding her, for loving her, for showing her that even in the darkest times, hope and love can bloom. This is a story about war, but it's really a story about love, about the human capacity to see past differences, past hatred, past everything that tries to keep us apart, about 2 people who chose connection over division, love over fear, hope over despair. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear that love can conquer even the greatest obstacles. And drop a comment telling me, do you believe in love that defies all odds? Have you ever had a connection that changed your life? Remember, the stories we tell about humanity's darkest assigned to a medical unit being sent to support Japanese forces in the Pacific. She knows in her bones that she's heading toward the end of something. She just doesn't know if it's the end of the war, the end of her life, or the end of everything she's ever believed. Part 2, Capture. It's July 1944, and Yuki's medical unit is stationed on a small island in the Pacific. The Americans are advancing island by island, and everyone knows their location is next. The senior officers have already left, taking the best supplies with them. The remaining soldiers are exhausted, malnourished, and terrified. And Yuki, along with 3 other women in the medical corps, is told to prepare for the worst. If the Americans come, her commanding officer tells them, his voice hollow, you know what you must do. He means suicide. They all know it. The military has distributed cyanide capsules to ensure that Japanese women will never fall into enemy hands alive. Better dead than dishonored, they've been told 1,000 times. Better dead than subjected to the horrors that American soldiers will surely inflict. Yuki keeps the capsule in a small cloth bag around her neck. She touches it constantly, feeling the hard outline through the fabric, wondering if she'll have the courage to swallow it when the moment comes. The American assault begins at dawn. Artillery fire shakes the ground. Planes roar overhead. The sound is deafening, apocalyptic, like the whole world is being torn apart at the seams. Yuki and the other women huddle in a makeshift bunker, covering their ears, praying to gods who seem to have abandoned this blood-soaked piece of earth. When the ground assault comes, it's over quickly. The Japanese forces are too weak, too depleted to mount any real defense. Yuki hears shouting in English, the language she learned from textbooks, now being barked by enemy soldiers just meters away. Her hand goes to the capsule. This is it. This is the moment. But then something strange happens. One of the other women, Tomoko, starts crying. Not silent tears, but great heaving sobs of terror and exhaustion. And Yuki realizes she can't do it. She can't swallow the poison and watch her friend die. She can't end her own life when there's still breath in her lungs and blood in her veins. So she makes a choice that will change everything. She reaches out, takes Tomoko's hand, and waits. When the American Marines burst into the bunker, rifles raised, Yuki closes her eyes and waits for the bullets. But they don't come. Instead, a voice in accented but clear English says, "It's okay. You're safe now. We're not going to hurt you." Yuki opens her eyes. The Marines are young, barely older than her brother. Their faces are dirty, tired, and yes, there's wariness there, but not the cruel savagery she expected. One of them lowers his rifle and holds out his hand, palm up, a universal gesture of peace. "Come on," he says gently. "Let's get you out of here." And that's how Yuki Tanaka becomes a prisoner of war. Part 3. The Journey to Arizona. The journey from the Pacific Island to the prisoner of war camp in Arizona takes 3 weeks. First, there's a transport ship where Yuki and the other captured Japanese, mostly medical personnel and support staff, are kept in the hold. It's cramped and uncomfortable, but they're given food, water, and basic medical care. No torture, no brutality, just the strange limbo of being transported from one world to another. Yuki spends the voyage in a state of confused numbness. Everything she was told about the Americans is proving false. They're not monsters. They're just men, doing their jobs, treating the prisoners with a kind of bureaucratic neutrality that's almost more unsettling than violence would be. At least violence would make sense. This is incomprehensible. She talks to the other women in hushed whispers. Tomoko thinks it's a trick, that the Americans are lulling them into false security before the real horrors begin. Another woman, Akiko, thinks they're being taken to America to be used as slaves or worse. Only Yuki, with her language skills and her secret, shameful curiosity about the outside world, wonders if maybe, just maybe, there's another explanation. When they reach San Francisco, Yuki gets her first glimpse of America. The city is huge, sprawling, and utterly foreign. Buildings taller than anything in Tokyo, cars everywhere, people going about their lives as if there isn't a war tearing the world apart. It's disorienting, like stepping into a dream or a nightmare, she's not sure which. From San Francisco, they board a train. This time, the prisoners are kept in a guarded car, but they can see out the windows. And what Yuki sees takes her breath away. America is vast, endless. Mountains give way to forests, forests give way to plains, plains give way to deserts. She's never imagined a country so big, so varied, so alive. Despite everything, despite being a prisoner heading toward an unknown fate, Yuki feels a strange flutter of excitement. She's seeing the world, just like she always dreamed. It's not how she imagined it, but life rarely is. The train finally stops at a small station in the middle of the Arizona desert. It's August, and the heat is suffocating, nothing like the humid warmth of Japan. This is a dry, relentless heat that seems to suck the moisture from your body and the thoughts from your head. Yuki and the others are loaded onto trucks, and as they drive through the dusty landscape, she sees it. The POW camp. It's a collection of wooden barracks surrounded by wire fences and guard towers. Not terrifying, but not welcoming either. Just a place, existing in the middle of nowhere, waiting to hold them. As the truck pulls through the gates, Yuki touches the capsule still hanging around her neck. She hasn't told anyone she still has it. She's not sure why she's kept it. Insurance, maybe, or just a reminder of who she was supposed to be. Part 4. First days. The first few days at the camp are a blur of processing. Names recorded, photographs taken, medical examinations conducted. The American staff are efficient and professional, neither friendly nor cruel. Yuki and the other Japanese prisoners are assigned to barracks, given basic supplies, bedding, towels, soap, and shown where the latrines and mess hall are located. Yuki shares a room with 5 other women. Tomoko is there, still convinced this is all an elaborate prelude to something terrible. Akiko is there too, along with 3 women Yuki doesn't know well. Michiko, a doctor in her 30s, Reiko, a quiet girl who barely speaks, and Sachi, who has a sharp tongue and a sharper mind. This is not what I expected, Michiko admits on their second night as they lie in their bunks staring at the ceiling. I expected prison. This is more like, I don't know what this is. It's still prison, Sachi says flatly. We're still prisoners. Don't forget that. But Yuki is finding it hard to remember what being a prisoner is supposed to feel like. Yes, they're confined to the camp. Yes, there are guards and fences, but they're fed 3 times a day, regular meals with meat and vegetables. They have access to a small library. There's even a garden where some of the prisoners have started growing vegetables with permission from the camp administration. It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense anymore. On the 5th day, Yuki is assigned to work in the camp infirmary. Her medical training and English skills make her valuable, and the camp doctor, an older man named Dr. Hendricks, needs an assistant who can communicate with both the American staff and the Japanese prisoners. You speak English well, Dr. Hendricks observes on her first day. He's a gentleman with kind eyes and gray hair. Where did you learn? School, Yuki answers carefully, still not sure how much she should reveal. how much trust she should give. In Tokyo, before the war. Dr. Hendricks nods thoughtfully. I learned some Japanese once. Wanted to read Basho in the original. Never got very good at it, I'm afraid. Language is hard. It's such a normal conversation, such a human moment, that Yuki feels tears prick her eyes. When was the last time someone talked to her about poetry, about learning, about anything other than war and death and duty? Yes, she manages. Language is hard. Working in the infirmary becomes Yuki's routine. She translates between the American medical staff and the Japanese patients. She assists with basic procedures, and she helps maintain the medical records. It's purposeful work, and for the first time in years, Yuki feels like she's doing something useful, something that helps rather than harms. But it's also in the infirmary that she first sees him. Lieutenant Daniel Cooper. Part 5. Lieutenant Daniel Cooper is 26 years old, a guard officer assigned to the POW camp after being wounded in the Pacific. He took shrapnel in his left leg during the Saipan campaign, and while the wound has healed, it left him with a permanent limp and a medical discharge from combat duty. Being assigned to guard prisoners is a desk job by another name, a way for the Army to use him without sending him back to the front lines. Daniel is from a small town in Oregon, the son of a school teacher and a lumber mill worker. He's tall, with dark brown hair, hazel eyes, and the kind of face that looks serious until he smiles. And then it transforms completely. He's quiet by nature, thoughtful, the type of person who watches and listens more than he talks. He hates what the war has done to the world. He hates what it's done to him. The things he saw in Saipan, the things he had to do, they sit like stones in his chest, heavy and cold. He doesn't talk about it. Most of the men who've seen combat don't. What's the point? Civilians can't understand, and fellow soldiers don't need the reminder. Working at the POW camp is supposed to be easy, boring even. Just watch the prisoners, make sure they follow the rules, file reports. But Daniel finds himself unsettled by it all. These aren't enemy soldiers, these are nurses, medics, support personnel. Most of them are women. They're scared, confused, and so young. It bothers him that they flinch when he walks by. It bothers him that they look at him like he's a monster. The first time Daniel sees Yuki is in the infirmary. He's there for his weekly checkup, the limp in his leg acting up after too many hours on his feet. Dr. Hendricks is examining him when Yuki enters with a tray of medical supplies. Their eyes meet for just a second. Daniel sees intelligence there, and something else, a guarded curiosity. Yuki sees a tall man in an American uniform with eyes that look sad and tired. This is my new assistant, Dr. Hendricks says cheerfully. Yuki Tanaka. Yuki, this is Lieutenant Cooper. You'll probably see him around quite a bit. He has a bad habit of not resting that leg like I tell him to. Daniel nods politely. Ma'am. Yuki bows slightly, a reflexive gesture. Lieutenant? Her English is good, Daniel notes. Really good. Barely an accent. He wonders where she learned it, what her life was like before all this. But he doesn't ask. Asking questions feels dangerous somehow, like opening a door he's not sure should be opened. Part 6. The slow build. Over the following weeks, Daniel and Yuki see each other regularly. The infirmary is a small space, and Daniel's leg requires ongoing treatment. Physical therapy, exercises, heat packs for when the muscles cramp up. He comes in 3 times a week, and more often than not, Yuki is there. At first, their interactions are purely professional. Daniel checks in at the desk. Yuki escorts him to the treatment room. Dr. Hendricks does the examination. They exchange maybe 10 words total. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, something shifts. It starts small. One day, Daniel notices that Yuki is reading a worn copy of an English novel during her break. He recognizes the book, The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. That's a good one, he says without thinking. Yuki looks up, surprised. You have read it? In high school. Our English teacher loved it, made us read it twice. He smiles slightly. I didn't understand it the first time. Too young, I guess. What did you understand the second time? Yuki asks, and there's genuine curiosity in her voice. Daniel considers the question. That everyone's chasing something they can't have, and that the past is a dangerous place to live. Yuki looks down at the book in her hands. Yes, she says softly. That is true. It's just a brief conversation, maybe 2 minutes long, but it's the first real exchange they've had. The first time they've talked to each other as people, rather than prisoner and guard, enemy and enemy. After that, they start acknowledging each other differently. A nod when they pass in the hallway. A brief good morning when Daniel comes in for treatment. Nothing significant, nothing that would raise eyebrows, but enough that Daniel starts looking forward to his appointments in a way that has nothing to do with his leg. He tells himself it's just because she's intelligent, because conversation with someone educated is refreshing after months of barracks small talk. He tells himself it's innocent. But late at night, lying in his bunk, he admits the truth. He's drawn to her, and it terrifies him. Meanwhile, Yuki is fighting her own battle. She notices when Daniel arrives. She notices the way he's always polite, always careful with his words. She notices that unlike some of the other guards, he never leers, never makes inappropriate comments, never treats the prisoners as anything less than human. She also notices the sadness in his eyes, the way his jaw tightens when certain topics come up, the careful way he walks, favoring his left leg even months after the injury. He's been hurt, she realizes, not just physically. The war has wounded him in ways that don't show. It makes him seem less like an enemy and more like a mirror. They're both casualties of this war, just on different sides. One autumn afternoon, Yuki is alone in the infirmary, organizing medication, when Daniel comes in early for his appointment. Dr. Hendricks has been called away to deal with an emergency in another part of the camp. I can come back later, Daniel offers, standing awkwardly in the doorway. No, please, Yuki says. The doctor will return soon. You can wait. Daniel nods and takes a seat. The silence stretches between them, not quite comfortable but not hostile either. Finally, Daniel speaks. Can I ask you something? Yuki's hands still. Yes. Why did you learn English? It couldn't have been a common thing in Japan before the war. It's a personal question, maybe too personal, but Yuki finds herself answering honestly. My father worked for a company that traded with America. He thought English would give me opportunities. I loved learning languages. It was like unlocking doors to new worlds. Do you regret it now? Learning the enemy's language? Yuki turns to face him fully. Do you regret learning Japanese? I didn't. Daniel stops. Dr. Hendricks mentioned you spoke to him about basho. I've read some of his haiku, in translation, obviously. They're beautiful. Translation always loses something, Yuki says. But yes, he is beautiful. He understood that nothing stays the same. Everything moves, everything changes. An old pond. A frog jumps in. The sound of water, Daniel recites slowly, the words careful on his tongue. Yuki's eyes widen. You know that one. I told you, I've read some. There was a book in the library back home. My mother liked it. He looks down at his hands. She writes me letters, asks how I'm doing. I never know what to tell her. Tell her you are alive, Yuki says quietly. That is enough. Their eyes meet, and for a moment something passes between them. Recognition. Understanding. The acknowledgement that they're both just trying to survive in a world that's gone insane. When Dr. Hendricks returns, he finds them sitting in companionable silence, and something in his old, wise eyes tells Daniel that the doctor sees more than he's letting on. Part 7. The Photograph. It's late October when everything changes. The camp administration decides to allow prisoners to write letters home, heavily censored, of course, but still a chance to let families know they're alive. For Yuki, it's both a blessing and a curse. She wants desperately to contact her family, to let her mother know she survived, to find out if her father and brother are still alive. But what can she say? How can she explain where she is, what's happened, without bringing shame to her family? She sits in the recreation room for hours, pen in hand, paper blank. The words won't come. Daniel finds her there during his evening rounds. Trouble with the letter? Yuki looks up, surprised. Most guards just walk past without acknowledging the prisoners during off hours. I do not know what to write. The truth? Daniel suggests. The truth is complicated. It always is. Daniel hesitates, then sits down in a chair across from her. Not too close, but not distant either. I had the same problem when I first got injured. My mother wanted to know everything. But how do you tell your mother about war? How do you explain that you're alive, but you're not sure if you're okay? What did you tell her? That I was healing, that I was safe, that I thought about her every day. He pauses. It wasn't everything, but it was true. Yuki looks down at her blank paper. My mother will be ashamed. Her daughter, a prisoner. Or she'll be grateful. Her daughter, alive. The simple logic of it breaks something open in Yuki's chest. She picks up her pen and begins to write. Daniel sits quietly, not watching her work, just present. When she finishes, tears are streaming down her face, but she's smiling. Thank you, she whispers. For what? For reminding me that being alive is not shameful. Daniel wants to say more. He wants to tell her that she has nothing to be ashamed of, that survival is its own kind of courage. But the words feel too intimate, too revealing. So he just nods and stands to continue his rounds. As he walks away, Yuki calls out softly, Lieutenant Cooper? He turns back. Your mother is right to be proud of you. Daniel's throat tightens. He nods once more and leaves, but her words echo in his head for days. The next week, something arrives for Yuki. A package from the Red Cross, forwarded from San Francisco. Inside is a letter from her mother, written months ago, not knowing if Yuki would ever receive it. The letter is brief. Her father is dead, killed in an air raid. Her brother is missing, last heard from in Burma. Her mother is living with relatives in the countryside, working in the fields, surviving. But the last line makes Yuki sob. Whatever happens, I am proud you are my daughter. Live, Yuki-chan, just live. Yuki takes the letter to the infirmary and hides in the supply closet, crying into her hands, trying to muffle the sound. But Daniel hears. He's there for an early appointment, and he hears the muffled sobs from behind the closet door. He knows he shouldn't. He knows it's inappropriate, possibly even prohibited, but he can't walk away. He knocks gently. Yuki? Are you all right? The crying stops abruptly. A moment later, the door opens a crack. Yuki's face is red, her eyes swollen. She's holding a letter in her shaking hand. My father, she manages to say. He is dead. Daniel's heart breaks. He knows that grief. He's carried it himself, for brothers in arms who didn't make it home. I'm sorry, he says, and the inadequacy of the words burns. Yuki steps out of the closet, composing herself with visible effort. War takes everyone, she says. Enemy and friend. It does not care. No, Daniel agrees, it doesn't. They stand there in the quiet infirmary, two people from opposite sides of a war, sharing a moment of grief that transcends nationality or allegiance. And in that moment, something shifts irrevocably between them. Daniel reaches into his pocket and pulls out his wallet. From it, he extracts a small, worn photograph. This is my brother Thomas, he says, showing it to her. He was killed at Normandy. I found out 3 months after it happened. Yuki looks at the photograph. A young man, maybe 20, with Daniel's eyes and a wide smile. He looks kind. He was. He wanted to be a teacher like our mother. He was good with kids, patient. Daniel's voice cracks slightly. He was supposed to come home. I am sorry, Yuki says, and she means it with every fiber of her being. Daniel carefully puts the photograph back in his wallet. I shouldn't have shown you that. It's not appropriate. Why not? Because I am the enemy? There's no anger in Yuki's voice, just exhaustion. Your brother was killed by people who look like me. My father was killed by people who look like you. But we are just two people who have lost someone we love. That is not inappropriate. That is human. Daniel looks at her, really looks at her, and sees not a prisoner, not an enemy, but a woman grieving her father, a woman who speaks beautiful English and loves poetry, a woman who is doing her best to survive in an impossible situation. You're right, he says softly. You're absolutely right. From that day forward, something changes between them. It's subtle at first. A few more words exchanged during his medical appointments. A book recommended, left discreetly on the infirmary desk. A moment of eye contact that lasts just a second too long. They're careful. They have to be. The other guards are watching. Some of the prisoners are watching. Any hint of impropriety could mean punishment for both of them. But despite the caution, despite the danger, something is growing between them. Something neither of them wanted, neither of them planned for, but neither of them can deny. Part 8. The Garden. November arrives, and with it, cooler weather. The desert, so unbearably hot in summer, becomes almost pleasant. The camp administration decides to expand the prisoner garden, both as a morale project and to supplement the camp's food supplies. Yuki volunteers to work in the garden. It gets her outside, gives her something to do with her hands, and reminds her of home. Her mother's tiny garden in Tokyo, where they grew tomatoes and herbs in terracotta pots. Daniel, as part of his guard duties, supervises the garden work detail. It's a coveted assignment because it's outdoors and relatively peaceful. No one expects POWs working in a vegetable garden to cause trouble. This is how they start spending more time together. Not alone, never alone, there are always other prisoners and guards around. But in the bustle of planting and weeding and watering, they can talk quietly without drawing too much attention. What are you planting? Daniel asks one afternoon, watching Yuki carefully press seeds into the soil. Daikon radish, she answers. Japanese radish. Dr. Hendricks found seeds for us. He is very kind. He is. He's a good man. Daniel pauses. Will they grow here? The climate is so different from Japan. Plants adapt, Yuki says, patting the soil gently. They find a way to survive, even in strange places. Daniel hears the metaphor. Is that what you're doing? Adapting? Yuki sits back on her heels, looking up at him. The sun is behind Daniel, creating a halo effect that makes her squint. What choice do I have? I can adapt or I can break. I choose to adapt. That takes strength. Or stubbornness. She smiles slightly, and it's the first real smile Daniel has seen from her. It transforms her face completely, chasing away the sadness and fear, revealing the woman she might be in a world without war. Daniel feels his heart do something complicated in his chest. You should smile more, he says before he can stop himself. Yuki's smile fades. Should I? I am a prisoner, Lieutenant. My country is losing a war. My father is dead. What is there to smile about? Being alive, Daniel says, echoing her earlier words to him. Your mother asked you to live. Living means more than just surviving. It means finding moments of light, even in dark times. Yuki stares at him for a long moment. Then slowly, the smile returns. You are right. I will try. As the weeks pass, the garden becomes their place. Not officially, not exclusively, but somehow they always seem to be there at the same time. Daniel finds reasons to check on the garden work detail. Yuki volunteers for every garden shift. They talk about everything and nothing, books they've read, places they've been, things they miss from before the war. They're careful never to discuss anything too personal, too revealing, but even the simple conversations feel intimate. One December afternoon, as Yuki is harvesting vegetables, she cuts her hand on a broken piece of fence wire. It's not a serious cut, but it bleeds freely. Daniel sees it happen. You're hurt. It is nothing, Yuki says, but blood is dripping onto the soil. Come on, let me look at it. Daniel guides her away from the other workers to a quiet corner near the tool shed. He pulls out a clean handkerchief and wraps it around her hand, applying pressure to stop the bleeding. His hands are gentle but firm. Yuki watches his face as he works, seeing the concentration there, the care. His hands are large and calloused, hands that have held weapons, but right now they're cradling her injured hand like it's something precious. "You should be more careful," Daniel murmurs, not looking up. "I will try," Yuki says, and her voice comes out softer than she intended. Daniel does look up then, and their faces are suddenly very close. Maybe 12 inches apart, close enough that Yuki can see the flecks of gold in his hazel eyes, close enough that Daniel can smell the faint scent of soap on her skin. For a moment, neither of them moves. The world narrows to just this, his hands holding hers, their eyes locked, their breath mingling in the cool December air. Then reality crashes back. Daniel drops her hand like he's been burned. You should go see Dr. Hendricks, get that properly cleaned." "Yes," Yuki says, her own heart racing. "Yes, of course." They step apart quickly, putting proper distance between them. But as Yuki walks back toward the infirmary, her hand throbbing, she can still feel the ghost of his touch. That night, lying in her bunk, Yuki admits the truth to herself. She has feelings for Daniel Cooper. Impossible, dangerous, completely inappropriate feelings. And across the camp, in his own quarters, Daniel stares at the ceiling and admits the same truth. He's falling for a woman he can never have. Part 9. Christmas and Confessions. Christmas 1944 arrives, and the camp administration tries to make it festive. There's a tree in the recreation hall, strung with handmade decorations. The mess hall serves a special dinner with turkey and all the trimmings. There's even a carol service in the evening, optional for the prisoners but surprisingly well attended. Yuki goes to the service, curious about this Christian holiday. She sits in the back, listening to the familiar carols sung in English. "Silent night. O come all ye faithful. Joy to the world." The irony isn't lost on her. Here they are, singing about peace and joy while the world tears itself apart. Daniel is there too, standing with the other guards along the wall. He sees Yuki sitting alone, and in a moment of boldness he'll later question, he walks over and sits down beside her. "Do you celebrate Christmas in Japan?" he asks quietly. "Not traditionally," Yuki says, "but I learned about it in school. The story of Jesus, the baby in a manger. It is a beautiful story. Even if you don't believe it? Belief is not necessary for beauty." Yuki glances at him. "Do you believe it?" Daniel considers. "I did once. Now I'm not sure what I believe. The world seems too cruel for there to be a loving God watching over us. Or perhaps God is there, but we are not listening. Maybe." Daniel looks at the makeshift nativity scene at the front of the room. "My mother always said that Christmas is about hope, about believing that light can come into dark places. Do you have hope, Lieutenant?" It's a dangerous question. Daniel knows he should deflect, give some platitude. Instead, he tells the truth. "When I look at you, yes." Yuki's breath catches. She doesn't look at him, afraid of what her eyes might reveal. "You should not say such things." "I know, but it's true." Daniel stands abruptly. "Merry Christmas, Yuki." He walks away before she can respond, before he can do something even more foolish. But the words hang in the air between them, impossible to take back. After Christmas, they avoid each other for a week. Daniel makes sure to schedule his infirmary appointments when he knows Yuki will be off duty. Yuki volunteers for extra kitchen shifts to stay away from the medical building, but avoidance only makes the longing worse. Daniel finds himself thinking about her constantly. The way she tilts her head when she's listening. The way she tucks her hair behind her ear when she's concentrating. The sound of her voice when she speaks English, careful and precise.